Today's episode is brought to you by Wireless Zone, located in Dunn's Corners, Westerly, Rhode Island. Wireless Zone in Westerly is an authorized Verizon realtor. There you can find all the latest and newest phones, including the iPhone 13. And if you're in the business for a new phone, you can get up to $440 off your new phone with a trade-in of an old phone. And if you have a broken phone, they have a repair zone. There they can help repair your cracked screen. You need a new battery. They have you covered there in the repair zone. Check out Wireless Zone in Westerly, Rhode Island, located next to the Dunkin' Donuts in Dunn's Corners. All right, on today's episode, I welcome on a very special guest. He is Scott Leech. He is a strength and conditioning coach at URI. Works with the football team, the women's tennis team, and track and field. Scott, how you doing?
Doing great.
Awesome. Sorry, I struggled in the beginning there. I don't know what happens.
All good, man.
It's a mouthful, but Scott, this is awesome to have you on the show. It's cool to see the behind the scenes of what is going on in college sports. Like, you help these young men and women get into shape, get ready for their seasons, help them stay healthy for their season. But I want to start with just how everything led up to where you are now. But like, you played football, you're from Rhode Island, you lived in Lincoln, you played football. So how did you get into football, and what was your career like in football?
Yeah. So like you said, I grew up in Lincoln, Rhode Island, right down the road from URI, or up, depending on how you look at it. But, classic, undersized, overachieving, making the most of what I have, Rhode Island high school athlete. And wanted to keep playing football. Once I was done with high school, I was like, I'm not done with this yet. I want to keep going. And ended up going to Springfield College, which is in Western Massachusetts, D3 school. And they do a little bit different style of football. They run the triple option, where instead of passing the ball, we just decide not to and run the ball every time. And it pays to be a little bit lighter, a little bit quicker. And they took a shot on me and said I can come up there and play. And it's a good thing I did, because coming out of high school, I even went to a camp at URI at one point, and I was, 250 pounds. And they were like, yeah, if you come here, we're going to put on another 50, 60, 70 pounds.
Wow.
I was like, and I would have still been undersized compared to some of the guys that we have here now. So knew I couldn't hang at this level, but Springfield College was great for me because I didn't know it at the time, but it's kind of the mecca for college football coaches and strength and conditioning coaches. Most of my coaches that I had ended up becoming D1 strength coaches or professional coaches, whether it was football, basketball, baseball. And all the friends that I've met along the way and all the people that I played with, a good number of them turned out to be strength coaches as well. So part of it was being in that system and learning how to train it and being in that mix and seeing what really good coaches do, and it made me, appreciate that piece of the training puzzle more. I didn't really like, a lot of respect for our football coaches. I can't go out there and recruit and be on the road and be away from my family and try and get these kids and coach them up every day. I'd rather do the weight room piece and the development side, because I think that's kind of one of the coolest feelings, is when you take somebody when they show up at 17, 18 years old, and they've never worked out before, they've never trained, and they leave here 22, 23 years old, bigger, faster, stronger. But, for the rest of their life, they know how to exercise, they know how to train, they know how to stay in shape. And just the fact that you can make that impact on somebody is for me, that's what gets me out of bed. That's what brings me here every day. It's the chance to do that. So Springfield College was kind of the place to be. Ended up working out in my favor, and a lot of those Springfield connects helped me get back to Rhode Island. Prior to Rhode Island, I was at Merrimack College, which is a small D1 school north of Boston. Spent 5 years there, and originally there was an assistant job here that opened up, and when I saw that, I said, man, I want to come back home. I want to be closer to my family. Was lucky enough to get the assistant job. I was here January 2020. So I was here for like 3 weeks. I was like, and it all hit the fan. So last year was a tricky year. We had to work around a lot of restrictions and obstacles and difficulties.
Yeah.
credit to our kids, man. People don't understand how much they had to put up with and how much they still have to put up with in order to do what they love to do. So, credit to
How do
those.
you like? How do you work around like the COVID and like doing everything through via Zoom or like speaking with the kids?
Yeah. So a lot of people ask, like, what did you guys do for workouts? Because they couldn't be in the facility. And most people, their gyms weren't open.
Yeah.
Everything was closed down for a good while. So we sent out workout programs via PDF and Excel sheets and things like that had body weight circuits that had, if you add a backpack, what are you going to do? The good thing is, costs no money to go sprint down the street, costs no money to do plyometrics and jump training. Very easy. You can grab some stuff to throw around. So the speed and the power and things like that and conditioning, there was no reason to not go out and run and get in shape. So there's still a lot to do. The other big thing is checking in with your athletes and just like, it's not an easy time. And for a lot of people, the gym is kind of that rock, that consistent thing every week. Hey, I know that I'm going to put my phone away for an hour. I'm going to get in there. I'm going to get a good sweat in. I'm going to get after it. It's good for my mental health. And they didn't have that. So being able to check in with people and be like, how you doing? What's going on? Are you still working out? Are you doing your at-home workouts? Do you have access to anything? And a lot of communication on our end to make sure that they're still getting some sort of training in. And then when we came back, it was, COVID test multiple times a week. Originally, we couldn't, we had to all keep ourselves 6 feet apart. So, we couldn't normally we have an entire football team in. We had to break our football team into 4 groups.
Wow.
And if we train for an hour and we spend 15 minutes cleaning, what used to take, an hour and 15 now stretched out to 5 hours for us.
Yeah.
Which is, I'm hopeful and thankful that, we don't have to go back and do that again. That was not ideal.
Yeah, definitely not ideal. But your journey is a very interesting one of like how you end up playing at Springfield. And like you said, Springfield's like the mecca, like it sounds like the mecca of Division I coaches, and as well as it goes into the strength and conditioning, and you work your way back to URI. I want to know too, I just want to ask a question to kind of work back. At what point were you at Springfield that you knew that you wanted to become like a strength and conditioning coach? Was there someone that you like your coach there that you worked out with, or like how did that like kind of like what sparked that interest? Because at 18 and that 20 range, we really don't know what we really want to do at that age. So like, how did you figure that out?
Yeah. So to be honest, I think I was lucky enough. I kind of figured it out in high school. My junior year of high school, I was up to 285 pounds, and I was the typical fat kid, and I had all the jokes and things like that, but I didn't enjoy myself, and I don't know what hit me, but I decided enough was enough, and ended up losing close to 70 pounds between my junior year and senior year. So by high school, senior year, I was down to 215 pounds. And it was just something that I enjoyed the process of doing it. I enjoyed seeing the results. And I think that, along with, hey, go to Springfield, they have a great exercise science program. And it was like, all right, this is awesome. And then along the way, I had to do some internships. So I went out to Brown University with Coach O'Neill, who's still there now. He's a phenomenal coach. Coach Buckley at Bryant as well. Like Rhode Island's kind of spoiled, get some really good coaches in the area. So, getting to spend some time with Coach O'Neill and learn how to actually coach. And in the Ivy League, there's like 38 teams that you have to, program and work for. So every day was like, hey, let's go to work and let's get our feet wet. And then I also did an internship out at the University of Missouri on SEC football. So that's kind of like the highest level in college.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it, but the amount of stress every day was brutal. So, is it for me? I'm not going to say it's I wouldn't ever go back, but I enjoy the level of competitiveness that the FCS is. And, Rhode Island itself is in the CAA, which is the toughest level of competition in terms of FCS. So I like it, but I like the security knowing that I'm going to be able to go home every day and I don't have to worry about, I can get fired any day.
Yeah. XYZ.
We want to succeed, but hey, you know what? Like you can have a bad day here and there and it's going to be okay. So
yeah,
but you don't figure out those things until you go out and do those internships, until you leave home, until you go away from your family. That was another thing too, is I went to the Midwest and I was like, I'm seeing my family in 3 months, man. I want to come home and see them. So
yeah. And so what's it like to, when you get hired at URI and obviously before the COVID, everything that hits, like, what's that feeling like, you're home, you get hired at URI, and now you're working as like at the time like a strength conditioning coach there. What's the feeling like?
Yeah. So to be honest, I if you told me when I was 18 or 19 that you'd come back and you end up being the head strength coach, I'd be like, you're out of your mind, because there's so few places. I mean,
Yeah.
there's Rick, there's PC, there's Bryant, there's Brown. I know those guys aren't leaving anytime soon. So it's like, man, the fact that this opened up right on my doorstep, it's like, this is a blessing. And I know a lot of people went through a lot of hard stuff in 2020, but I feel like I'm one of the few that was absolutely spoiled. I got a chance to come back home, get a new job, which was a promotion for me, get a chance to be closer to my family. Ended up proposing to my fiance in the summer. We ended up buying a house. We ended up getting a second dog, and things like, for a while when I was living in Merrimack College, it wasn't easy. And that's one thing I always tell people in this field, whether it's coaching or strength conditioning, is you got to put in a lot of long hours. You got to put a lot of long days in, and you question yourself sometimes, like, man, am I just beating my head against the wall? Like, how long am I going to do this without breaking through? And 2020 was that year for me where things kind of just dominoes started falling in the right direction. And, I couldn't be more thankful. So yeah, the fact that you come back home and be the, Rhode Island guy and get to represent Rhode Island. It's one thing I tell our staff all the time is I want to make Rhode Island the place to be. Down the road, I want people that want to come to Rhode Island because they know about our strength conditioning program. I want students to come here to do their internship. Don't go out to the Midwest, come to Rhode Island because you know that they have a great strength conditioning program. So that's the goal. And I think a lot of Rhode Islanders feel the same way. It's like, you want to put the state on the map.
Yeah.
It's a dog mentality. So trying to bring that to work every day.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, exactly. I know how you feel. I love to see Rhode Island players from Rhode Island succeed, and also I like to see URI be successful, and other Rhode Island schools be successful, because it's nice to see our programs and everything around our kids and everything around the area be successful here. So you work with 3 teams. You work with the football team, the women's tennis team, and the women's track and field team. What is the differentiation of like implementing programs for each of those sports, and how is that? What kind of work goes into that? What kind of study goes into that?
Yeah. So when I was the assistant, I had baseball, I had volleyball, I had women's soccer. So I had worked at a bunch of different teams. Every team's a little bit different, right?
Yeah.
When you first get there, you look at the situation, and even football teams. Every football team is a little bit different, in terms of the makeup, and especially lately, with COVID and things like that, everyone getting an extra year. A lot of teams are older than normal.
Yeah.
And that can cause a lot of differences in your training as well. So a lot of the basics, a lot of the fundamentals are the same, right? You got to get strong on 2 legs. You got to get strong on 1 leg. You got to get power and speed work. A lot of those things stay the same. The differences come into, okay, does my track and field team need to do a ton of upper body work? Not so much. They just need enough to balance things out and make sure that they're not getting, lopsided or anything like that. Our tennis program, we want to include some extra rotational work. We want to make sure we're doing a lot of shoulder care and elbow care, things like that. And then obviously the time of year is going to be a little bit different too. Whereas they want to succeed in the spring. Obviously they want to succeed all year, but
yeah,
in the spring. Whereas football, their competitions in the fall, and then their January, February, March is their off season. So things are a little bit different there. And then football is a completely different animal in itself. People think it's one team, but you have your freshmen who have never lifted weights before, probably on a different program. Your quarterbacks are going to need a little bit extra love, especially in the shoulder area. Your kickers are different creatures in themselves. Even your big guys and your skill guys. A lot of times you're not going to train them the same way because they don't do the same thing out on the field. There's a lot of individual differences in there in terms of what you're going to do with them, and not just the lifting piece as well, but also what am I going to do for conditioning? What am I going to do for speed and agility training? Speed and agility training for a 350-pound football player is a lot different than, a tennis athlete. And then I don't necessarily need to do conditioning with track and field because that is their sport.
Yeah.
So all of those things go into the mix when you're putting your X's and O's together. And then the last piece of it is you can put the most perfect plan together, and then somebody tells you that they didn't sleep last night because they had to, submit a 12-page paper at 11:59, and then they had to get up at practice for 6 a.m. and they didn't even, all those things come into the mix. And then you have to take your perfect plan and be like, okay, how can we make it perfect today, knowing everything that's going into it? So uh, it's not easy, right? But
Yeah.
that's why we're here, is to make sure that we get the best out of our athletes that day.
Yeah, that's I mean, it's great that you're able to do that. And obviously it sounds like you also have to be able to read the athlete with everything and how they're feeling and what's going on. And it's just interesting too, because like you mentioned, like football, it sounds like you have to focus on like different muscle groups, or like quarterbacks need more shoulder work, like you said, or like, you work with defensive backs, maybe more conditioning or speed training. So it's just very interesting. Like I don't know, how many hours do you like put into like developing those programs for those guys? Like, it sounds like a lot of work. You make it sound so easy, but it sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah, there's a lot of hours on the front end where you're like scheming it up, you're planning it out, and then I typically I'll work maybe 3 or 4 weeks at a time. I'll say, all right, for the next 3 weeks, this is what we're going to do. I'll lay a bunch of 3-week programs in a row and say, hey, this is what I want to do from when football gets here in August until the end of the playoffs. This is my overall goal. And then I'll focus kind of 3 weeks at a time and say, all right, for the next 3 weeks, we want to get better at this. We want to emphasize this. We want to build this skill. And then from there, it's 1 week at a time. Okay, did the game last week, did it beat up our starters? Do we need to make some changes? Are our young guys developing pretty well? Can we push them a little bit harder on week 2? But in general, I set it up about 3 or 4 weeks at a time, and then we work from there to there.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And then like, now, are you on the sidelines for like each of the sport? Like, are you there like for football? Or are you there for tennis? And
Yeah. So with football, at least, I'll go to practice every day.
Yeah.
That is just to warm up the entire team, to get them going to start practice. And then I do a lot of rehab. We have a physical therapist, Mark Murphy, who's absolutely phenomenal. He'll take all of our athletes post-surgical. So, we had a guy out for the year with an ACL surgery, had another guy out with a shoulder. He'll work with them a couple days a week and do their rehab and get them going. Then I'll do some extra work with them. If a guy he's got a shoulder, right? He's had surgery, can't do anything with his arms yet. You can still do a lot of lower body stuff. Just because you had surgery doesn't mean you go lay in bed for 2 months.
Yeah.
We'll have our guys in there doing lower body workouts, or if it's knee injury, we'll do upper body workouts. And then as they get cleared, return to training, that's when we can start bridging the gap from rehab back to performance. So that's the one thing we've done in the past few weeks, is we got our guys cleared to start jogging again, cleared to start doing agility work. So they'll come back out to practice with me, and we'll start mixing some of those things in. I think it helps that I played football, so I understand what drills would a linebacker typically drill, what drills would a wide receiver typically do. And they may not be ready for the drill itself, but they might be ready for the skill underneath the drill, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The other piece I'll do is if we have guys that are limited at practice, so got a high ankle sprain, I can do a little bit of this, but I'm not ready to go full speed, then they may finish practice with me doing some rehab work, or if somebody's got a tight hamstring, things like that, we'll do some extra stuff out of practice. So I'm there every day, and then obviously on game days I'm there as well, to warm them up and just be a hype guy, get rowdy.
That's awesome. I love it. Now I got a question that's I've seen it a lot on on watching college football games and stuff like that. Are you the holdback guy for the coach? You see a lot of strength conditioning coaches usually have to hold back the head coach not to walk on the field?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of it, just because we talk about discipline all the time, and you're going to let the discipline get thrown out the window on game day. It doesn't seem right. Our coaches are great though. They don't, I don't have to worry about them. Our kids are great as well. Like, our sideline is clean, so I don't really have to worry too much about it. Every once in a while, I'll come in and save the day, or you'll see if there's ever a big touchdown run, you'll see me running down there trying to catch up with the person, because typically everyone wants to go celebrate in the end zone, and you can't do that. And I understand when people get hyped up and they kind of lose, you get caught up in the moment. So it has to bring everyone back to reality. That's the only time you'll see me holding people back, is if we're celebrating too hard.
Oh my God. So you need to be in like your condition needs to be in good shape if you got to catch up to the guy that's running to the end zone.
Short burst, man. That's all I am. I'm a short burst guy these days.
I love it. That's awesome. And how has the football season been? I mean, URI was at one point ranked. To be honest, I haven't caught too many games, but how has the season been going for them?
Yeah, so we started the year 5-0, first time since I think 2001, something like that. Took a rough little skit there, 3-game losing streak, but came back against UMass, First time we beat an FCS opponent, I think, in 20 years, or FBS opponent in 20 years, because they're one level higher. So that was pretty good. Got us back on track, sitting at 7-3 right now. I think one more win is, obviously what we're shooting for, to finish the year 8-3. And if you do that, I think that gives you a really good shot at going to the FCS playoffs. So, we're just kind of focused on beating Elon this week, and you can't think about playoffs because essentially this is the playoffs. If you don't win, you're not going. So it's been kind of a playoff mindset all week here.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's exciting and very exciting for Rhode Island, obviously, and especially football. I mean, New England, we're not known for being as big football, but it's great to see our football team succeed and be awesome. So that's great to hear that.
I mean, all of our teams are killing it right now. Basketball, men's and women's, are off to great starts. So
yeah,
our swim team's doing well. I'm trying to think who else is competing in the winter right now. We'll have our track team kick it up in a little bit. So yeah, no, Rhode Island's on the map right now.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's very exciting, and especially I'm a URI fan. I grew up 20 minutes down the road from URI, so big URI guys. So I always try to make the games when I can.
Nice.
So Scott, I want to just ask some questions that are more outside of sports and everything, just so the listeners get to know you and everything.
Sure.
Actually, well, I have one more question before we get into that. How hard do these kids work? Like, what goes behind the scenes that the kids, how hard do they work that people don't know about?
Yeah, I think people underestimate the schedule of a student athlete. Example for our football players, right? They come in and we open up our athletic training room. So guys that need to get, a hamstring massage, they need to get ultrasound, they need to get ice and electrostim on there. That opens at 6 a.m. 7 o'clock, there might be like a quick team meeting, and then they'll start watching film because they got to review yesterday's practice and then also talk about what they're going to do today at practice and maybe go over some things that need to get fixed. So that's at 7 o'clock. Then they got to run to the locker room. They got to get their stuff on. They got to get out there. We practice from 8 to 10 or so. A couple of days a week, they might come in and hit the weight room right after. Other guys are going back to the athletic training room to go get treatment, and that gets you to about 11. Then you got to go to class. You got to find a time to get something to eat as well. That's the other tricky piece, right?
Yeah.
Class. Maybe guys have to come back in the afternoon for study hall, and then usually we're back sometime at night. Whether it's 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, something like that, to again watch some more film, study the opponent, things like that. And that's just football, for example. I mean, I know our volleyball team watches a ton of film. I know our soccer teams come in, for hours at a time. Typically, you try and schedule all your stuff in the building in one window. That way they don't have to come back in the afternoon unless it's for something easy like watching film or getting another treatment or things like that. So on top of all the classwork and stuff, the morning from 6 to 11 is, it's pretty much a part-time job. You're doing a part-time job.
Yeah.
So credit to the kids, man.
That's crazy. I mean, yeah, good for them for being so disciplined and like sets the standard at an early age. But that's wild to be like you're working a part-time job as like your student. You're pretty much your athlete and your student, and you have to get your schoolwork done, and you have to do well on and off the field. So that's tough. That's crazy. So all the credit to them, and all the credit for you for what you do for those students and help them achieve even better in the game as they go forward. Now I want to ask the questions that are more just outside of the sports and the strength and conditioning. Just fun questions for people to get to know you. Do you have a favorite food?
Oh man, I love anything with meat. So burnt steaks. I love me some Italian food as well. So a little chicken parm, maybe some ravioli. Like I said, I used to be 285 pounds, so I love it. It's not, it's not a problem for me.
Do you have a favorite place to get your chicken parm or your Italian food?
No, man. No, it doesn't matter to me.
Doesn't matter.
I'll go down to Matunic Oyster Bar though, if I had to pick a favorite place.
Yeah.
Oh man, if you want to give me a gift card for dinner, that's the place. I'm just putting that out there for anybody. Want to help me out? MLB.
That's awesome. Yeah, great place to eat as well. Do you have a favorite kind of music or favorite artist?
And music is tough because in the weight room it's on from 6 a.m. until 6 p.m. Like there's always teams in here and there's always music playing. So I hear enough hip hop. I hear enough rock music all day. I want to change it up, I love throwing some country on. I like some easy listening. I like some
Yeah.
lo-fi beats to study to if I want to change it up there for sure. And then we throw a lot of mixes on. So songs that just kind of rotate. It's like an hour long and it keeps changing and switching and things like that. And that's what gets people going, like the techno mixes and things like that. Just bumping nonstop. So you name it, I've listened to it. And just that's what happens when your music's on from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Yeah, it's nonstop. And what about, do you have a favorite like TV show or favorite TV show?
Oh man, I'm a huge Marvel guy.
Okay.
So the Marvel movies and the shows that are coming out now, I like getting into all the nitty gritty details and trying to, figure out what's going on and all the connections to other shows. Yeah, I'm low key a big Marvel guy. So
that's awesome. Yeah, same here. And then what kind of dogs do you have?
Oh man, so I have Panini, like the sandwich is our first one. She's part lab, part cattle dog, 100% sass, like a thick tank meatball.
Yeah.
The other, we just got a German Shepherd mix and we named her Riesling.
Oh.
So we got the Panini, we got the Riesling, and she's a skinny German Shepherd, but she's a love bug, a cuddle bug, and then has a ton of energy. So they're best friends, which is great. That's the one thing I was worried about, is bringing a second dog in. They don't like each other, but those two will scrap all day and tire each other out. So it's awesome. And then, we're talking about adding a third one at some point. We got to get an Alfredo in the mix. Got to get a white lab or something like that. I'm like, I'm good with two for now.
I love it.
We'll see.
And then last question. And then what's your favorite thing to just do outside of the strength and conditioning, coaching? What's your favorite thing to do outside of all that?
I mean, obviously as a Rhode Island guy, I love going to the beach.
But
when COVID actually first hit and we all had to go work from home, I picked up, I always liked doing like little woodworking things like that, but I started my own little side hustle, if you want to call it that, Strong Woodworks. And I ended up just started out with like cutting boards and coasters and things like that. And I've made a couple different, I've made some tables, I've made some desks, I've made a chess set and all the chess pieces out of wood. So,
holy crap.
It's just something different, right? Because you come home and you got to use your hands and you have to focus and pay attention to it. And you're off your phone, you're getting away from all that stuff, and you're working on a skill. So just something about that I kind of like. So a little woodworking. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's so cool. I might have to have you make me a cutting board. That's really cool that you got into that. That's so different.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, Scott, that's all I have for you today for questions. Do you have any comments, questions, or anything for me?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to throw it out there, make sure that people hear about it. I don't know if by the time this gets posted, it's too late, but one thing we've tried to do for the month of November, the Movember, you grow out the mustache, right? And everyone's like, hey, growing out a mustache is cool. But, we wanted to support a cause, and we decided that mental health and suicide prevention was something we kind of wanted to raise money for. And at the end of the day, like growing a mustache is cool, but being able to talk about your mental health is what's really considered manly, in my opinion. And as a strength and conditioning department, if the big, strong muscle heads aren't afraid to talk about what they're struggling with and the issues they're going through, then there's, everybody can open up and be a little bit more honest about their mental health, especially for our student athletes. It's something that is so huge. Like I just talked about with that schedule. I mean, they're so busy. They have so much going on.
Yeah.
And the pressure to succeed is so high. What happens when you don't succeed, or what happens when all that stuff ends up being too much for you? And, typically, and, Movember is more about men's health, but it's for everybody. But, we like to bottle it up. We like to not talk about our feelings, not talk about the issues that we're going through. We don't want to weigh other people down. But it's important to open up and talk about those things and find at least one person that you can connect with and open up and let them know that you're going through something, because they're going to be there for you to support you. So through the Movember Fund, we've raised over $2,000 so far for mental health and suicide prevention. Still got almost half the month left. So we're hoping to, I think 3,000 would be a lofty goal, but I think we can do it. So
yeah, that's awesome. Where do you go donate? Where could people donate if they want to donate?
So our link is right on our Instagram.
Yeah.
at Rhode Strength. I think it's on my Instagram as well, if that ends up getting tagged in there or not. But
Yeah.
we've been sharing facts about mental health. We've been sharing information and resources about mental health all month. And then we try to put the link up there every couple of days, and it's in the bio as well. So you just click that, and it's pretty straightforward. You can just donate right to the team. We got a bunch of different people on the team itself going out to collect money, and we have a sweet mustache trophy. I don't have it in my office right now, but whoever raises the most money this month is going home with the magnificent mustache trophy. So
I love it. Well, I think
month.
it's a great cause. I mean, mental health is a big thing, and if you're struggling, like you said, just speak up, and if you're going through anything, speak up. And I think that's great that you guys are able to raise the money and make awareness for it. I think that's awesome.
Heck yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Scott, so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it, and I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
No problem. Anytime.